I just dragged my suitcase through the front door of my suburban Philly home, exhausted from a 2-week work trip to Denver. I'm a consultant, the kind who lives out of carry-ons and airport Starbucks, fixing corporate chaos for a paycheck that barely covers the stress. My house. It's my sanctuary, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Locked up tighter than Fort Knox with deadbolts and a keypad that'd make a bank jealous. I live alone, no pets, no roommates, just me and a fridge magnet screaming live, laugh, love in tacky cursive. So, when my neighbor Greg, 45, balding, socks with sandals guy, caught me in the driveway and said, "There was screaming coming from your house," my jet-lagged brain short-circuited. Screaming? I'd been 1,600 miles away for 14 days. "Yeah," he said, squinting like I was hiding something, loud like someone was hurt. "My wife almost called 911. I laughed it off, but my stomach twisted. Nobody had keys except my parents. The house was empty. Or so I thought. That night, standing in my too quiet living room, I couldn't shake the feeling something was very, very wrong. The moment Greg's words about screaming in my house sank in, I couldn't just brush it off like some bad Yelp review. I stood on my driveway, keys dangling in my hand, the late Sunday sun casting long shadows across my perfectly mowed lawn in suburban Philly. My house, a modest 1,800-square-foot haven I'd bought at 29 after grinding through college and landing a consulting gig, was supposed to be my fortress. Deadbolts, double-cylinder locks, a keypad that buzzed like a sci-fi vault. Nobody was getting in without my say-so. I'd spent $2,000 on that security system, not because I'm paranoid, but because my job keeps me on planes half the year, solving other people's messes while my own life sits in a holding pattern. So, screaming? From my house? While I was 1,600 miles away in Denver. Eating overpriced airport sandwiches? That wasn't just weird, it was wrong. I walked back inside, the door clicking shut behind me with that satisfying thud of a well-locked home. The living room smelled faintly of lemon cleaner, which was odd because I'm more of a Swiffer once-a-month kind of person. I dropped my grocery bags on the counter, milk, eggs, a frozen burrito for dinner, and started to unpack, but something fell off. The hardwood floor gleamed like it had been polished by a professional. I don't own a polisher. I barely own a mop. I glanced at the hallway mirror, expecting smudges from my last rushed morning, but it sparkled like it was auditioning for a Windex commercial. My skin prickled. This wasn't my house's usual chaos of unopened mail and coffee mugs. This was curated. Upstairs, it got weirder. My bedroom, usually a battlefield of laundry and half-read business books, looked like it belonged in a Marriott. The bed was made, not just pulled together, but hotel-made, sheets tucked so tight you could bounce a quarter off them, pillows fluffed to perfection, blanket folded at a precise 45-degree angle. I froze, staring at the scene. I don't make my bed like that. I don't have the time or the soul for it. My mom's voice echoed in my head. She's always had a thing for fixing my space, like my independence was a personal insult. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number, my thumb hovering over the call button for a second before I hit it. She picked up on the second ring, her voice all sunshine and suburban mom cheer. "Lisa, sweetheart. How was Denver? Did you eat anything decent, or just those awful airport pretzels?" "Trip was fine," I said, pacing the bedroom, eyes still locked on the too-perfect bed. "Mom, quick question. Were you at my place while I was gone?" "Oh, I stopped by to water your orchids. You really need to leave better instructions for those things, by the way. They're finicky." Her tone was light, but I could hear the dodge coming. "Did you make my bed?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. She laughed, that tinkly laugh she uses when she's about to deflect. "Well, somebody had to. It was a mess, Lisa. You can't live like that." I pinched the bridge of my nose, trying to keep calm. "Mom, I told you before, don't touch my stuff. Did you do anything else? Vacuum? Wipe down counters? Reorganize my spice drawer?" A pause, then a chuckle. "Okay, guilty." I ran the vacuum, tidied the kitchen, and yes, I found 3 containers of paprika. 3, Lisa. Who needs that much paprika? I closed my eyes, the dread creeping up my spine like a cold draft. You didn't bring anyone else, right? It was just you. Of course not. Why would I bring anyone? Don't be ridiculous. Her voice was too quick, too bright, like a salesperson closing a bad deal. I didn't push it. Not because I believed her, but because arguing with my mom is like arguing with a motivational poster, pointless and exhausting. She rambled on about my orchids, my dating life or lack thereof, and how engineers make great husbands. I mumbled a goodbye, hung up, and stood there, staring at the bed that wasn't mine anymore. Someone had been here. And it wasn't just my mom with her Pinterest-fueled cleaning spree. The floor, the mirror, the bed, they weren't just clean. They were staged, like someone was trying to erase something. I didn't sleep well that night. Every creak of the house felt like a warning, every shadow a stranger. By noon the next day, I was back outside, pretending to check my mailbox but really looking for Greg. He was in his garage, moving boxes around like he was prepping for a yard sale. I waved, trying to keep it casual, like I wasn't about to interrogate my neighbor about my own house. "Hey, Greg," I called, crossing the lawn. He glanced up, wiping sweat from his brow despite it being 65 degrees. "Can I ask you something?" He nodded, setting down a box labeled Christmas lights. "Sure, what's up?" I shoved my hands in my pockets, trying to sound chill. "You mentioned the screaming. Can you tell me exactly what you heard? I'm not accusing anyone, I wasn't here, so I'm trying to piece it together." Greg hesitated, his eyes flicking toward my house like it might answer for me. "Look, I'm not trying to stir up trouble," he said, scratching his beard. "But there were people, coming and going, different ones. I didn't recognize them." My stomach dropped. "When?" "A few nights ago, around midnight. The night before that, too. And it wasn't just this time. Back in March, same thing, loud noises, people in and out. June, too, right before my daughter's dance recital. That was the second, I think." I nodded slowly, my brain racing to keep up. "And the screaming? What was it like?" He shifted. "Uncomfortable. Not like a fight or a party. It was, I don't know, like someone was in pain. Not normal. Not fun." I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it." He gave me a look, half pity, half warning. "Whatever's going on over there, it's not nothing. Just be careful." I walked back to my house, the weight of his words pressing down on me. Inside, I pulled out my planner, the one I used to track my endless work trips. March 10th, Atlanta, a week-long conference. June 2nd, Denver, another client rollout. Every time Greg heard something, saw something, I was hundreds of miles away, thinking my house was locked up tight, empty, safe. But it wasn't empty. Someone had been here, multiple someones according to Greg. And my mom, with her cheerful lies about orchids and paprika, wasn't telling me the whole story. I sat on the edge of my too-perfect bed, staring at the gleaming floor. My house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a stage, a set for someone else's life. I thought about my parents, their history of sharing everything, my toys, my room, my space growing up. They'd always framed it as generosity. But it was never about me. It was about them, their ideals, their need to fix things that weren't broken. And now my house? My one piece of independence. Paid for with my own sweat and 80-hour work weeks? It was starting to feel like another thing they thought they could borrow. I didn't know what was happening yet. But I knew it wasn't just about a clean floor or a made bed. Greg's words kept looping in my head, people, screaming, patterns. March, June now. Every time I left, something happened. My mom's voice, too quick on the phone, echoed like a warning. I wasn't just living alone anymore. I was living in a house that kept secrets, and I was done guessing what they were. I couldn't live with the not knowing anymore. Greg's words about strangers and screaming in my house, my mom's too quick denials about just watering the plants, the gleaming floors and that hotel-perfect bed. They were puzzle pieces that didn't fit, and I was done pretending they did. My house, my 1,800 square foot slice of freedom in suburban Philly, was supposed to be mine. I'd earned it, every mortgage payment, every deadbolt, every late night grinding through client decks to afford it. But someone or something was turning it into a stage for secrets I wasn't invited to. I'm not the kind of person who jumps to conspiracy theories or binge watches true crime for fun. But I'm also not the kind who ignores a neighbor saying, screaming, like it's just another Tuesday. So I made a decision. My next work trip was already on the books, 3 days in Boise, Idaho, for a mind-numbing rollout meeting with an overseas team. I'd be 2,000 miles away, and my house would be empty. Or so I'd let everyone think. Before I left, I went full detective mode. I ordered a set of 5 hidden cameras online, $200 for tiny, cloud-connected devices with audio, the kind you see in spy movies but marketed to paranoid pet owners on Amazon. I spent a Saturday afternoon tucking them into my house like I was setting up for a sting operation. One went in the living room, hidden in a bookshelf next to my dog-eared copy of Atomic Habits. Another in the kitchen, nestled above the cabinets where I keep my emergency ramen. I put one in the hallway, behind a fake fern I bought at Target, one in the entryway inside a decorative light fixture, and the last in my bedroom, angled to catch the whole room from a corner shelf. They were legal, discreet, and mine. I wasn't messing around anymore. If someone was using my house, I'd see it. If my mom was lying about her cleaning hobby, I'd know. I sent her a text the night before my flight, keeping it casual but firm. Hey, off to Boise tomorrow. If you want to water the plants, thanks, but please don't do anything else. No cleaning, no reorganizing, just plants. Her reply came fast. All emojis and innocence. Oh, I'll try not to clean. You know how I am. Safe travels. It read like a Hallmark card, but it felt like a chess move. I didn't trust it. I packed my carry-on, double-checked the locks, and flew out to Boise, my laptop loaded with a camera app, ready to play private investigator from a budget hotel room. The first night was quiet. I opened the app around 8 p.m., propped up on my hotel bed with a $12 burger from room service. The feeds were live, crystal clear, showing my empty house bathed in the soft glow of motion sensor lights. Around noon, my mom showed up, right on cue. She watered the orchids, fussed with a framed photo on the mantel, and wiped down a counter that was already spotless. Annoying but familiar. No strangers, no screaming, just her usual meddling disguised as help. I watched, my jaw tight, waiting for something else. Nothing happened. I closed the app, half relieved, half disappointed, and tried to focus on my meeting prep. But the unease lingered, like a song stuck in my head I couldn't shake. The second night, everything changed. I was in my hotel room, fresh off a Zoom call with our India team that I'd completely botched because I couldn't stop thinking about the cameras. It was 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. back home. I opened the app again, the screen lighting up my darkened room. At first, the feeds were still, my living room, kitchen, hallway, all quiet. Then the front door opened. Not my mom. A man, broad-shouldered, maybe 40, stepped inside with a duffel bag slung over his arm. He moved like he belonged, no hesitation, no glance over his shoulder. My heart thudded. 2 minutes later, another person, a woman with a long silver braid, carrying a wine bottle. Then another, a woman in knee-high boots and a red shawl. A man with a folding chair. They didn't knock. They didn't whisper. They walked in like it was their Airbnb. I stared at the screen, my burger forgotten, my pulse hammering in my ears. The living room filled up, 7, 8, maybe 10 people, spreading across my furniture like it was a community center. Lights dimmed, music started, something soft and rhythmic, like a playlist you'd hear at a yoga retreat. Someone lit a candle on my coffee table, the one I'd bought at a flea market for $5. Laughter floated through the audio feed, casual, intimate. Then I saw it, a man in nothing but boxer briefs, sprawled across my sofa like he was at a frat party. A woman sat cross-legged on my rug, unzipping a small black case. She laid out items on the coffee table, leather straps, something shiny, something that moved. My stomach churned. Another woman walked barefoot through the hallway, holding what looked like a blindfold, giggling as she passed the camera hidden in the fern. She didn't see it, but her glance brushed close enough to make me flinch. This wasn't a book club. This wasn't my mom's cleaning. This was my house, turned into some kind of underground gathering with strangers treating my space like a pop-up club for what? A party? Something worse? I slammed the laptop shut, my hands shaking, like closing it would make it disappear. My phone rang, jarring me back to reality. It was my project manager, annoyed that I'd missed the start of our call with the India team. Lisa, where are you? We're on slide 3. I mumbled an apology, switched to my work laptop, and joined the Zoom, nodding through a presentation about data syncing I couldn't process. My mind was 2,000 miles away, replaying strangers on my sofa, my table, my rug. I was muted on the call, but inside, I was screaming. The meeting dragged on for 30 minutes, each second an eternity. As soon as it ended, I reopened the camera app, bracing myself. The gathering was in full swing, more candles, more people, the music louder now. I couldn't look away, but I couldn't keep watching either. My phone rang again, an unknown number. I answered, my voice barely steady. Hi, is this Lisa Kessler? The voice was calm, official. This is Officer Brennan with Maple Glen PD. We're responding to a report of a gathering at your residence tonight. Are you aware of anyone using the property? I swallowed, my throat dry.
No.
I'm in Boise. I'm not home. We've had several individuals on site express concern after discovering surveillance devices inside the home. Some were unaware they were being recorded. Your parents are currently present and say they had permission to use the space. They didn't, I said, my voice flat. I told my mom she could water the plants. That's it. Do you have that message? Yeah, I can send it.
All right.
You may be contacted for a formal statement. There may be zoning or licensing issues under review. We'll follow up. He hung up, and I sat there, staring at the hotel wall, the camera feed still open on my laptop. My house, my sanctuary, was a crime scene. And my parents? They were at the center of it. The call from Officer Brennan left me frozen in my Boise hotel room, the laptop still open to the live feed of strangers lounging in my Philly home like it was a speakeasy. My coffee table, where I'd spilled takeout lo mein during a Netflix binge, was now a display for leather straps and God knows what else. My sofa, bought on clearance at IKEA, was a stage for a guy in boxer briefs acting like he owned the place. And my parents, were there claiming they had permission. Permission? I'd texted my mom to water my orchids, not turn my house into a pop-up for whatever this was. My hands shook as I stared at my phone, the screen still glowing with the officer's number. I wanted to scream, to call someone, anyone, but who? My clients? My friends? Nobody would believe this. I barely believed it myself. 15 minutes later, my phone rang again.
Mom.
Her name on the screen felt like a betrayal all its own. I let it ring. Once, twice, my thumb hovering over the decline button. But curiosity, or maybe just rage, won out. I answered, my voice low, like I was trying not to wake something dangerous. Sweetheart, hey, listen. She started, no hello, no apology, just straight to it. Just tell the police you knew, okay? Tell them you gave us permission to use the house. I blinked, the words not fully registering.
What?
I managed, my voice tight. It was just a little get-together, she said, her tone too bright, like she was selling me on a bad Airbnb review. Like the old days, you know? Community events. People we trust. Nothing dangerous. Just tell them it's okay, please. I stood up, pacing the hotel room, the carpet rough under my bare feet. Outside, the Boise parking lot was quiet. A minivan parked crookedly across two spaces, a mom untangling her kid from a scarf. Normal life. My life. Anything but. Mom, I said, slow, deliberate. What were you doing in my house? Silence. I could hear her breathing, quick and shallow. I saw people, I pressed. On my cameras. On my rug, my table, my sofa. What the hell was that? Another pause, then a rush of words. We can explain.
Just not right now.
It wasn't illegal. We didn't hurt anyone. It was private, and someone overreacted because they found a camera. I stopped pacing. A camera I installed in my house because you've been using it without telling me. More silence. Then my dad's voice cut in, quiet, almost pleading. Lisa, we didn't think you'd understand. So you didn't give me the chance, I shot back. We thought you'd try to stop it. You're damn right I would've. I hung up, my hands trembling, and set the phone down like it might burn me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just felt empty. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at the wall, replaying the call. Community event? Like the old days. What did that even mean? My parents were ex-hippies, the kind who'd once hosted drum circles and group therapy in someone's garage, back when bell-bottoms were a personality trait. But this wasn't incense and tie-dye. This was my house, my $300,000 investment, my sanctuary after 80-hour workweeks as a consultant, turned into a venue for strangers with wine bottles and blindfolds. I opened my laptop again. The camera feed still running, but the house was empty now. The police must have cleared it out. The candles were gone, the table bare, but the violation lingered. Heavy as the lemon cleaner my mom loved. 3 days later, back in Philly, I was still reeling. I hadn't slept, hadn't answered my parents' texts, hadn't even opened the fridge, because I didn't trust what I'd find. Then, a Facebook message popped up from someone I hadn't thought about in years, Marla. One of my parents' old friends from their hippie days. Gray hair, poetry blog, probably still drank chamomile tea like it was her job. Her message was soft, almost too kind. Lisa, I'm so sorry. It began. I didn't know they didn't have your permission. We were told you were okay with it. If it helps, this is the website they used to organize. A link followed, no name, no logo. Just a sleek, anonymous URL that looked like it could sell you a timeshare or a cult membership. I hesitated, my cursor hovering. I didn't want to know, but I needed to. I clicked. The site loaded. All muted grays and calming fonts, like a meditation app gone rogue. Words like freedom through trust and rotating safe spaces floated across the homepage, alongside phrases like private curated gatherings and suggested donations. $400, $850, $1,200. A calendar listed events, each date a punch to the gut. March 10th, June 2nd. Last week, all my business trips. The locations were vague, but the photos weren't. There was my coffee table, the one I'd refinished during lockdown with $20 worth of sandpaper and sweat. My rug, the one my mom called too plain. A wine glass on my kitchen counter, next to the dish rack I'd bought at Walmart. My house wasn't borrowed, it was featured, like a venue on Eventbrite. I scrolled further, my heart pounding. The host alias was some nonsense string of letters, but the contact email had my mom's old nickname, Starlight, from her flower child days, spelled backward. It was them, my parents. They'd turned my home into a side hustle, a secret club for their weird, nostalgic community gatherings, charging strangers hundreds of dollars to use my space while I was out hustling for my own bills. And the kicker? I found a tab labeled Purpose. It read like a mission statement from a shady startup, supporting chosen family through shared resources. I didn't need to dig deeper to know what that meant. My sister, with her 2 kids and her fixer-upper house she never fixed, had been drowning in debt. My parents had pushed me to sell my place, downsize, give her the difference to help her out. I'd said no, calmly, firmly, because I wasn't about to sacrifice my hard-earned stability for her bad decisions. So they'd found another way. My house, sitting empty during my trips to Atlanta, Denver, Boise, became their ATM. They'd used the donations to bankroll her new mortgage, her bigger house with the walk-in closet and backyard she couldn't afford. They didn't ask me. They didn't tell me. They just took. I closed the laptop, not out of anger, but because I couldn't look anymore. The truth was worse than the screaming. It wasn't just about strangers in my house. It was about my family, my parents, who'd raised me on sharing is caring but never shared the truth, my sister, who smiled when I asked how she afforded her new place and said, "We had help." Help. From my home, my privacy, my life. I sat in my too-clean living room, the silence louder than any scream Greg had heard. I'd bought this house to escape their chaos, their expectations, their endless demands to scoot over for someone else's needs. And they turned it into their playground, their cause, their lie. I didn't cry. I didn't call them back. I just sat there, the weight of it all settling like dust. My parents thought I'd protect them, lie for them, because that's what family does. But family doesn't sneak into your house, sell access to your life, and call it love. They'd crossed a line, and I was done pretending it was just a misunderstanding. I couldn't stay in that house anymore. My Philly home, my $300,000 sanctuary, felt like someone else's now, tainted by strangers, secrets, and my family's betrayal. So I sold it. No fanfare, no Facebook post, just a quiet deal with a realtor and a moving truck. My new place is smaller, a cozy 1,200 square foot apartment 50 miles away, smelling of fresh paint and my own choices.
I didn't leave a spare key under the mat.
My parents faced the fallout: fines for zoning violations, a lawsuit from a guest claiming emotional distress, and the slow fade of their old hippie friends ghosting them. My sister called once, blaming me for their mess, but I hung up when she said I went nuclear. I haven't spoken to them since. No big fight, just silence, the kind that says more than words ever could. Some say I overreacted, torching family ties over a few parties. Others think I let them off too easy. What do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If you like this story, hit subscribe and ring the bell for more. Let's keep the conversation going.